Well, good morning. Good morning. It's Wednesday. If you're watching the replay, go ahead and say hashtag replay. And I want to dive on into what may have been my greatest lesson in Georgia up until this point. But I'm not going to get there quite yet. I want to read one sentence that came out of the final chapters of the final textbook of my final year of Kaneo. That's a whole lot of finals. You know what I mean? And it says, God puts priority on his integrity over his reputation. Let me read that again. God puts priority on his integrity over his reputation. Now, does he care about his reputation? Sure. But listen to this. How often do we want people to understand where we're coming from? To understand, obviously understand our heart and know what we meant and know what we're about and ask questions or let us know if we did something wrong, right? That's one of actually the greatest lessons I've learned in Georgia, is to be okay with being misunderstood. I think that in the Pacific Northwest, I don't know, maybe it's because I grew up there, but people just kind of knew who I was and knew how I was wired, and maybe it didn't bother them to ask questions. I don't know what it is. But what I know is that when being misunderstood here, I don't want to say reared its ugly head, sounds like a devil. But it was hard for me. Friends, it was hard for me because my personality wants to make it right, wants to make sure that you understand like where I'm coming from and my heart and what I meant by that. Or maybe I could ask you, like, what did you think I meant by that? Or how was it interpreted? Or how did I come across? Or because again, I am a direct communicator. I am somebody who doesn't want the lines blurred. I want you and I to understand, not because we have to agree with everything, but because if we don't understand each other, then we can't find our common ground. But what I've had to learn here is that being misunderstood is just kind of part of it. Because people won't always ask questions. I won't always know they're upset or know that there is anything that's going on. And I can't live my life in a way that I don't know, not tiptoes, but let me just say this. I live my life in a way that assumes, and maybe that's not what I should do. Feel free to correct me in the comments. Maybe I want that, maybe I don't, but you can give me your thoughts. I just live my life in a way that assumes everything's okay unless you come to me directly with an issue. Why? Because life is happening to every person. And if I interpret they're coming across at me short or like they have a problem with me, it could just be that them and their kid just had a rough go getting to school. It could be that them and their spouse aren't seeing eye to eye. It could be that a bill just bopped them over the head and it has nothing to do with me. So do you understand what I mean by I just kind of live my life that everything's fine? There are no issues unless they come to me directly, because everybody is living life. Why do I say that? Well, look at this. God puts priority on his integrity over his reputation. So I kind of see that as, instead of me making sure I'm okay with everybody, because it's my reputation at stake here. Instead, I just know that I live my life in a fashion that you can ask me anything at any time. I've got nothing to hide. I live my life in integrity, not perfect. I'm not perfect, okay? I try my hardest to be Jesus, but I am not Jesus, okay? But his spirit lives within me. And I hope that when he convicts me, I'm quick to turn. I'm quick to repent. I'm quick to make things right. But if I live my life walking on eggshells or tiptoeing or wondering what he said or what she said, no, just walk your life with integrity. And so it was so interesting because as I read this, I just thought, wow, like, I mean, I'm nobody, okay? I'm mere dust. But even the God of the universe, the one true living God who created everything, spoke it into being, he puts priority on his integrity over his reputation. Like, if anybody should defend their reputation, it should be the one true living perfect God. And yet, he puts priority on his integrity. You guys, I hope that actually that brings you so much comfort because you can rest in who he is. You can rest in who he is, and he gives you a direct line to who he is and what he said. The Bible is God putting his integrity on the line. He certainly cares about the honor of his name. Okay, his name is power. His name is authority. His name is revealing his nature. Of course he does. But it is the integrity of what he says about himself and what he promises to do that he puts first in order of priority. Like, when I read that, friends, I hope you care about your reputation. I do. I want us to honor him with how we live our lives. I want us to walk out this life in excellence. But we're going to be misunderstood. We're going to be misunderstood. And if there's times where you can make it right, great. But there's times where I've actually had to sit back, recognizing that they don't even understand where I was coming from. They're not even grasping my heart. And I just had to sit back and say, if you want to prompt them to come talk to me, I'd love to address it. I'd love for them to ask clarifying questions. I'd love for them to do a critical conversation and smooth the lines. But I also realize that they might be dealing with other things. They might have other priorities on their plate. They may have other things that are screaming. And I can take a back seat. And I'll just walk my life in integrity, with integrity, and not worry about being misunderstood, even though it is rough. It is rough. I do not know why. I don't know if it's others who struggle with this or if it's literally just like an Amber thing and how she's wired. But it's rough, but it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Because I can rest in the one who is good to his word. I can rest in the one who, when he speaks, he keeps his promises. He keeps his promises. What promises? I'm going to leave you with this because this will leave you on a, I like to leave you on an up. You know what I mean? What promises has he spoken to you that you haven't seen come to fruition? I want you to bring those to him today and say, you've promised me this. You're good to your word. You are good to your promise. You are not one that lies. And so I'm going to pray this thing through and I'm going to claim your promises until fruition. Until fruition. Because he's just that good and he's going to do it.